Story 1. Of all the things I have lost in life, I miss my mind the most. Story 2. The teddy bear my mom gave me, which she had since she was a baby, was borrowed by a friend when they were sad and then disappeared when our friendship drifted apart. I still feel guilty. Story 3. This was my little plastic butterfly with wheels. I got it sometime in very early childhood. It was white with green wings, an orange belly, black wheels, and pink eyes. It was my fidget toy long before fidget toys were invented, and I am positive my ex-husband threw it away to mess with my head. I can still feel how smoothly it rolled in my hand, back and forth. It has been 30 years, and I would still give anything to have that little toy back. Edit. After commenting, I thought I might as well search eBay again. I have looked so many times and always come up empty. There was no reason to think today would be different. But guess who has a bug-eyed butterfly coming their way? I found one. Finally. Thanks, original poster. Story 4. Old letters from friends. It would be nice to read them again and remember past moments. Story 5. I miss my husband, my son, and my mom immensely. Some days I can't breathe. Story 6. The only thing left in Pandora's box was hope. I feel it would also be in my box of lost things. I would be glad to be reacquainted with it. Story 7. The Polly Pocket charm from my bracelet was special. I cried when I lost it at a friend's party. I was 6 or 7, almost 30 years ago. Story 8. My happiness and joy are gone. This was not meant to be clever. I truly miss them and feel even sadder knowing I should feel happiness but do not. Story 9. My older half-sister is a bitch. When we were still in contact, she would always go out of her way to get me a gift I would not like for Christmas, knowing that she would have an excuse to start a fight. One time, a few months earlier, the battery from my laptop mysteriously disappeared. She kept saying, "Just wait until you see what I got you," in a weirdly sinister voice, and I know she took it. It turned out that using a laptop without the battery but keeping it plugged in bricks it, or at least it did with the model I had at the time. The laptop broke, and by Christmas that amazing gift turned out to be 2 plain white t-shirts. First, I would look for the laptop battery, not because I think it will be there, but because I want to confirm that I was right. Second, I would look for all my older generation games and their cases. They sell for a mint these days. Story 10. My papa. I lost his mini urn while moving 7 years ago. I have not told my family. Laughing out loud. Story 11. My parents' wedding bands were interlocked by my dad after my mom passed, and he wore them on a chain. I inherited them and they disappeared during a cross-country move. I was in my early 20s. Now I make a stay-with-me box and bag for the most important or cherished items when things have to be moved. Story 12. My first 20-sided die. I have played Dungeons and Dragons for 18 years and am still playing. I want that fucking die. Story 13. A ring my mother gave me right before she died disappeared while she was in hospice at home. Many people were visiting. I am convinced it might have been stolen. I want her back. Story 14. My sister stole the first photo of my husband and me. Story 15. I lost my happiness a long time ago. Who does not want to be happy? Story 16. My virginity. I could not consent the first few times. After that, I didn't even try to consent because it felt like it would happen anyway. I went abstinent for years in my 20s during healing and growth. My body, mind, heart, and soul deserve it. It's not about innocence. It's about the right to choose. What I would give if I could live out of these waters. Story 17. My old Girl Guide sash had a pin from my mother on it, and it is one of the few things I truly regret losing. Story 18. I miss my innocence. I used to see only the good in everything and everyone. But life is hard and people make poor decisions more often than not. Story 19. This is about a ring I lost years ago. My father lent me a couple of rings to have appraised. When I returned them, one of the good rings was missing. He told me he had searched my room while I was away. It is not about the ring's value. I just wish I knew where it ended up. At what point did I lose it? Story 20. My husband's bag was stolen on our way to the airport for the trip when he planned to propose. So he had to propose with a fake ring and we never got the original ring back. Story 21. I lost the first letter my late boyfriend ever sent me. I have not been able to find it since he passed, and I wish I could read those words again. Story 22. I'm using my damn hairbrush because I don't want to buy a new one to brush my hair properly. Story 23. The item I lent in 1973 to an acquaintance was said to have been returned, but I never received it. Story 24. My health has declined. I was once very fit, lean, and strong. Now my world is incredibly small and filled with pain every day. Some of the medications cause weight gain, and I cannot walk more than the length of a rugby field without beginning to trip and fall. I want the old me. Story 25. I would first lose my patience. It seems to vanish faster than anything else, and I miss it terribly. Story 26. I went through all my original Pokemon cards to see if any are worth money nowadays. My parents and I made the wrong decision to keep my Beanie Baby collection instead. Story 27. My will and reason to live is having things to look forward to. Story 28. My baseball cards and old Hot Wheels. Nothing else matters. Story 29. My childhood stuffed toy was a koala hand puppet, and I loved him. Story 30. This small, realistic red fox I got from the Newark Museum when I was 11 and lost at 18. Story 31. It is probably an old notebook I had in high school. It was full of dumb sketches, random thoughts, and unfinished stories. Nothing valuable, but it would be like opening a time capsule of who I used to be. Story 32. Wow. An original question on this subreddit. I lost my virginity to the first boy I dated in high school. I ended up marrying him at 19. He was a good man until he became a fanatic, a born-again Christian. He totally changed from the person I married. Story 33. Some really sweet, heartfelt answers here, but for me it would be the well over $100,000 I have lost gambling over the last 20 years. Story 34. My faith in other people, though I lost it early on, I do not think I would know what to do with it if I found it. Story 35. When I was a kid, I had a Batman toy. I placed him under the table because he was hiding. When I went to retrieve him, he was not there. Where on earth did he go? That has bothered me for more than 30 years. Story 36. My first serious girlfriend. Failing that, her love letters. Story 37. I would look at all the pictures and the video of my mom. It was the only way I could hear her voice again. When my ex smashed my phone, the video was lost. Story 38. My mom died last year and I miss her so much. There is an ache and emptiness that changes you fundamentally when your parent passes. I love her. Story 39. A stuffed toy disappeared while I was sleeping. My parents had no reason to take it and I never found it. Story 40. My purple jellies were washed away in the ocean in 1985. I love those shoes. Story 41. I received a $50 bill for my 10th birthday. I was grounded for losing it a few weeks later. I am a Capricorn. I do not lose money. Someone stole it. Story 42. The mitten I lost when I was 4 in the 1960s is something I still look for when I walk by the stream. Story 43. Missed childhood milestones caused by having to grow up too quickly. Story 44. My childhood, a collection of journals written about my life, experiences and consequences, past and future, some very special magnets, happy, precious memories, and a few other things that people have taken or kept from me, even Bitcoin. Story 45. I lost my peace of mind somewhere between growing up and paying bills. Story 46. My mortality. I may decide I want to die at some point. It would be a shame not to be able to. I'm sorry you're feeling this way. If you are thinking about harming yourself or are in immediate danger, please call your local emergency number now. If you are in the United States, call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you are elsewhere, contact local emergency services or a trusted person and consider reaching out to a mental health professional or crisis line in your country. If you would like, I can help you find resources or talk more about what's going on. Story 47. My self-discipline. I don't know where, when, or how I lost it. I'm not sure I ever had it. I know I don't have it now. Story 48, my old bunny plush. I lost it when I was 3 years old. Story 49, the version of me before life became heavy. I just want to see what peace used to look like. Story 50, the key fob for my Toyota Prius went missing at home. I had already traded the car away, but it has been a running joke. Someone on Reddit suggested I drive the car from room to room until the door's unlocked, which would narrow down the room to search. Obviously, I do not need it now, but that would be amusing. They cost $450 to replace. Story 51, a small necklace with freshwater pearls and silver charms, including a slice of cake on a plate, a teacup, a teapot, and possibly a charm shaped like a girl. It was adorable. Story 52, there is some heavy stuff here. I was thinking of actual possessions like this awesome t-shirt I have been hunting for. Story 53, I had a small plastic R2-D2 about 2 inches tall that had a secret compartment in its front panel. I never took it from my room as a child, but one day it was gone. There were no suspects. It had simply disappeared. Occasionally I think about it. I was about 10. I am 53 now. Story 54. I would be more interested in all the items in the box labeled "I lost" that I never even knew about. Story 55. When I was young, I did not make friends. I moved often and there was strife at home, but I loved reading Stephen King. My 6th grade gym teacher, of all people, really saw me and tried to reach me. She wrote a beautiful poem about her concerns and hopes for me and how things would eventually get better. I still cry when I think about what she did for me. I used that page as a bookmark for years and eventually lost track of it. I have never regretted losing any physical possession more than losing that piece of paper, and I wish I had memorized it. Story 56. Probably like most people here, my optimism about life comes first. Second is my trust in our elected officials. Story 57. My faith in the system and my late dad's missing cufflink. Story 58. Also, my husband's aunt and uncle used to eat at our home for holiday dinners. This will be the first Thanksgiving without them, and it will seem awfully empty, even though my sister and brother-in-law will be with us. Story 59. RuPaul's face. In 1981, I was 16 and lived in Tucson, Arizona. My roommate Whitney and I heard some big-name crossdresser from Atlanta named RuPaul was coming downtown to perform in an old, dumpy hotel. We'd been at the Dicey bar drinking beforehand. It was a weird mixed crowd of old drunks, frat boys, punks, and cowboys. So we went to Hotel Congress. This divine creature alighted the makeshift stage wearing what he described as Candy's shoes 5 sizes too small for my feet, because that's what makes me happy. He sang, danced, and performed his hit, I Am Star Booty twice, wearing a midriff-bearing shredded Dallas Cowboys football top with the shoulder pads in and a tight black shirt. He looked like $1 million and spoke about how we should love one another. Behind me, I could hear the boots grumbling that they were going to kick his ass for desecrating the Dallas Cowboys uniform. I imagined he could hold his own, but I said to my friend, let's protect him by standing at the 2 steps where he'll descend the stage. I'll ask if we can buy him a drink. Then we can surround him. So we did that, and the light caught his unbelievably beautiful face. I remarked, oh my God, RuPaul, your face and makeup are the most beautiful I've ever seen in my life. Can I get you a cocktail? He said yes. We went to a quiet corner, and I just continued to look and marvel at his face because I had never seen anything like it and I hadn't noticed it from where I was standing on stage. We both told him how much we enjoyed the show and his positive messages of love. The Dangerous Men faded into the background. We chatted a little over our cocktails, and then he asked me if I could get a piece of plain printer paper from the front desk of the hotel. I said certainly. I didn't know why he needed it. When I came back from the front desk with the paper, I saw him lean his face back and carefully pick the paper up. I couldn't figure out what he was doing. He was making a print of his makeup and face for me. What a thoughtful person. He imprinted his entire face on the page, signed it, and said something nice so I could enjoy looking at that makeup long after he was gone. I have moved 64 times in my life and I don't know where that face print is anymore. I've lost or given away many things as I moved from Tucson to Boston to Minnesota to Hawaii to California. And I have one thing I have managed to save, but that wasn't it. I have a guitar pick from Dick Dale somewhere too. Then I forgot about RuPaul for several years and later saw that he was the face of MAC Cosmetics. More. Time went by and he got his own television show, RuPaul's Drag Race, with several versions. He became one of the biggest celebrities in the world, and he never changed a single word or message about what he was doing from 1981. It was all exactly the same and he stuck with it. It brought him the love of the world. Everybody wanted to hear it, and he was one of the most wonderful people I've ever met. Story 60. I looked amazing in that dress. It had owls on it. I was in 7th grade when it fell into a black hole. Story 61. Sesame Street pillowcase. I swear my mom stole it from me because she thought I was too attached to it. It was super soft and really cute. It had the whole cast on it. Sigh. Story 62. When I was 19, I told a dear friend that I wanted a lighter with a dragon on it and described the details precisely. A couple of weeks later, my then-boyfriend and I were riding with her while she ran errands. She ducked into a gas station to pay for gas and, when she came back, handed me a fresh pack of my favorite cigarettes and the lighter with the exact design I had described and had forgotten about until she gave it to me. It meant so much because she remembered those small details. When my ex saw I had been given something, he got excited and ripped it away from me and stole my cigarettes. Over the last year we were together, we kept taking the lighter back and forth. When I finally ended the relationship, I lost the lighter. I presume he took it. Story 63. My dog passed away in February. It still breaks my heart and brings me to tears whenever I talk about him. His death was completely unexpected and absolutely wrecked me. Story 64. I lost my R2D2 Tamagotchi in 1998. I still feel bad for the little guy. Story 65. What I miss most is my ability to trust people. Story 66. Definitely the one sock that vanished in the dryer multiverse. Story 67. My best friend of over 25 years was murdered on my birthday 9 years ago. Story 68. I lost my great-grandmother's Art Deco ring for obvious reasons. Story 69. Everything is inside. I think there is no need to rush to look for anything. Story 70. I had a nice posterior. It sort of disappeared when I turned 50. Story 71. My lion was my comfort stuffed animal. I lost it in a fire. It was the only thing that had been outside my fireproof toy box. Story 72. I would like the jewelry that was stolen from me. My grandmother's ring, my inscribed wedding band, my high school ring, and my 18-karat gold necklace from Kuwait. Story 73. My Beagle Duke had to be put down just before Mother's Day. I miss him immensely. He died from cancer and old age. Story 74. The jewelry box my nanny and my puppy Mackenzie gave me when I was a kid wasn't physically lost, but it felt lost to me when it was thrown out because the glass was broken. It had a beautiful flower design. I found similar ones, but the glass and pattern were never the same. I am pretty sure it was an antique and it was my favorite jewelry box. I remember looking in the little mirror at the back, behind where you hang necklaces. I still see my nanny, my puppy, and myself looking into that mirror because I asked them to look in it with me when I visited. I also had a Littlest Pet Shop electronic notebook. It had a small screen where you could play with your pet, take care of it, play ball, and play different games. There was a keypad at the bottom and a stylus. I dropped it and lost the stylus, which is probably still down the hill at my grandparents' house, but I do not know where the device went. The electronic notebook worked like a calendar and let you write little notes. I miss it and I want to know how that pet is doing and what notes I wrote in it. Story 75. Is my leg in there? Look a bit further to find the other person's toes. Story 76. My friend Brian is involved, but I'm not sure the box can bring back the dead or if this is a monkey's paw situation where he will become a zombie and I'll have to hug him, then kill him. I don't trust it. Nothing is free, I always say. Story 77. I am tired of relying on myself all the time. Story 78. This is my Clado ring from Ireland, and the other earring is the one my dad gave me, made of volcanic ash from Iceland. Story 79. I am a 73-year-old male with the body of a 28-year-old. That was a peak adult body. Best of all, I was unaware of my body. Now I have intermittent aches and pains that continuously play Where's Waldo. Story 80. I had a pair of heels by John Fluvog that were so incredibly comfortable and made me feel amazing. They went missing when I lived with stepchildren who hated me. They were the most expensive shoes I had ever bought by far, and they are no longer made. I found a used pair online and spent another ridiculous amount to replace them, but I forgot to size down, so they are too stiff to walk in. They sit in my closet, reminding me never to live with people who hate me. I should sell them. Selling them would feel like admitting that those people and their mother really messed me up. Story 81. I won a keychain from my 4th grade science teacher. She was the best, but I lost it after about a month. Story 82. This black and white vintage Fendi purse was stolen. It contained a necklace, a one-of-a-kind watch, the original space case, and a red patent leather hobo clutch with black and white gingham lining. I would like all of it returned, please. Story 83. My girlfriend Greer and our dogs. What an adventure our life was. I never got to say goodbye. My last words were that we'd be okay and that I would not leave her. Sigh. She left instead. Story 84. It is a toss-up between a black opal necklace I lost in high school and a Mickey Mouse wallet with a fair amount of cash that I lost at a movie theater in elementary school. I am more curious about what happened to the necklace. I had left it on the counter in the morning, and it was gone by the time I got home from school that day. Getting it back would be nice, but it would not solve the mystery, so I would probably choose the wallet. Story 85. The rings I had in high school were lost or stolen. One was the spoon handle ring my mom had as a teen, and it hurt so much to lose it. The amethyst ring I inherited from my grandma fell off in a restaurant and no one could find it. About 2 weeks after my mom had it repaired for me. Story 86. Do you mean lost as in misplaced and never found? Or lost as in no longer in my possession for reasons other than misplacement? If the latter, it is my comic book collection which my parents left outside in the rain after I moved out. If the former, it is a t-shirt I loved with a hot dog on it. Story 87. My Lucky Lakers hat and my autographed Wally the Beer Man trading card. Story 88. I had the original Jetfire, which was my absolute favorite Transformers toy. I let my cousin borrow it, and it was destroyed when it was run over by a vehicle. Story 89. My favorite purse was stolen many years ago. I searched local dumpsters hoping someone had dumped it there, but with no luck. It was worn brown leather with a zipper and pockets, and it fit my shoulder perfectly. Story 90. I have no idea. If I have lost something and not immediately found it, it was probably stolen. Would those items count? I would be surprised by both the size and the contents of the box. Story 91. My grandfather was on my father's side of the family. I was only 7 when he passed away. Story 92. My stuffed animal Coco was a monkey from my childhood. Story 93. It was the nice pen with my name inscribed on it that my aunts gave me for my 16th birthday. I had such faith that it would turn up one day, and I still think of it. I am 32 and have moved houses 4 times since then. Story 94. I lent my sister a really good, sturdy olive green umbrella. She was young and lost it at a park. Story 95. A Lego Ninjago gold spear. Lego comes from the Danish phrase "Legot" meaning play well. I lost it when I was about 10 and it has been on my mind ever since. Story 96. I knocked my $400 jigging rod combo over the side of my boat a few weeks ago, and I'm still bummed about that. Oh, and both of my grandmothers. Story 97. My childhood Christmas ornaments were put in a box for me by my stepmother and set aside. Somehow they never made it to my house after I bought one. Story 98. My ex, who is in her 30s. We still talk, but I miss seeing her every day. She would be the top item in my box of lost people. Story 99. The quarter ounce I put on my coffee table disappeared while I was in the bathroom. The door was locked, and there is no roommate or dog. I want my weed back. Story 100. I lost my virginity to her. She became a stage 5 clinger, and I wish I had never done it with her. Story 101. I would have said my childhood memories, but given how violently my parents argued and how isolated I was, it is not a good idea. I would have said my cat, but I became allergic over time, so I could not take care of her without developing asthma. Story 102. A holographic Blaine's Charizard is worth a small fortune. Story 103. Either my sanity or my virginity. I am not really sure where I left them. Story 104. My wife bought me a beautiful sterling silver bangle cuff shortly after we got engaged. Over years of wearing it and from snagging on things, the metal became flimsy and nearly snapped in half. I have not worn it in a few years because I do not want it to break. But I know one more snag is all it's going to take. Needless to say, I would take it out of the box and wear it forever. Story 105. My unshattered heart. This broken one is not working very well. I, however, would not look for my mind. When I lost it, I did not miss it for a minute. If I ran across it while searching in the box, I would deliberately lose it again. Story 106. The ring my grandfather gave me for my 16th Christmas. He died just 30 days later. However, it may not be there because it was stolen, not lost. Story 107. If stolen items count, my Sega Genesis games do. Story 108. My silver bracelet disappeared when my former sister-in-law visited. Does that count? It was a present from my grandmother. Story 109. I lost a special photo album and a small gold brooch engraved with my name. The brooch fell into the water when I wore it while fishing at about age 6. Story 110. I lost my White Ranger Saba sword when I was about 9. Story 111. A stethoscope my grandfather gifted to my mother 23 years ago was passed down to me before I lost it. Story 112. I had a particular necklace for many years and cannot remember where or when I bought it. I can no longer find it and assume it fell into something I later threw away. I still feel sad several years after realizing it was lost. Story 113. My completed Power Ranger sticker book, all of my Nintendo dual screen games, and all of the Pokemon cards people have stolen from me over the years. Story 114. I think my Pokemon cards I lost when we ran from domestic violence when I was a kid are worth a pretty penny now. They could make a lot of money and help pay off some debt. Some of those Generation 1 packs I hadn't opened yet. I spent my entire Christmas money from my grandparents on them. Story 115. I loved my 2 rescue pups with all my heart, and I miss them. Story 116. As for my virginity, I have had no need for it in ages. Throw it out. Story 117. I lost my Spitfire wallet while swimming at the quarry in high school. I loved it. Story 118. Of everything I've misplaced over the years, my patience is what I miss the most. Story 119. I lost my baby to miscarriage. My childhood is probably a close second. Being an adult sucks. Story 120. The classic Nintendo Entertainment System and Super Nintendo Entertainment System consoles my mother sold at a yard sale for cheap. The GameCube my brother destroyed. The Game Boy I lost when I left my mother's house. All my Tiger Electronics handhelds. My Digimon and Pokemon. Star Wars and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. World Wrestling Federation. Alien, Predator, and Jurassic Park action figures. And my comics. Story 121. My cool item. I lost it back in the 1980s. We let women cause the craziest things. We put together a search party, but there was no sign of it. I am pretty sure it wound up at the bottom of a lake, wrapped in a chamois with a rock inside. Story 122. A rock I found as a small child that had some gold on it. I carried it with me everywhere, and one day it disappeared. My first cat was a Persian. My father sold it for drugs. My first car comes next. My stepfather traded it for a boat while I was at school. When I came home, he said I could have the clapped-out truck he had parked. The truck had originally been my father's car, and although my father and I did not speak, I loved it. I haven't thought about this in a while. Story 123. I have lost 3 pairs of shoes in my life, 1 on a night out and 2 while moving. I have no idea where they went. All 3 pairs were new. Where are my shoes? Story 124. I lost a comedy and tragedy flip-face ring in an orchard. I took it off and put it in my pocket so it would be safe while I picked apples all day. Story 125. My parents got rid of my teddy bear, which was my favorite toy. Story 126. A gold and silver chain my dad gave me that my mom insists she misplaced. Story 127. I had a necklace with a picture of my mom in it. I lost it a year after she passed away. It was one of the last things she had given me. Story 128. Everyone is posting really edgy or genuinely sad stuff, but when I was little I had a Mudkip plush that flipped and folded inside out into a Pokeball. I got it as part of a gift package because a game store sold my copy of Pokemon Heart Gold that my mom had pre-ordered. So they sent a care package as an apology. He was my favorite little buddy and I took him everywhere. Then one day he was gone. I have no clue where he could have gone, and I still miss him. Story 129. My dad sold or traded the bike my grandmother bought me while he was chasing his habits. Story 130. I miss my good health and my ability to feel peace, but that is okay. I am going to work hard to get them back. I also want many people back in my life. I would like more self-confidence, and I can at least get that back too. There are many things I want. At least some are attainable, and that makes me feel a bit better. Story 131. It depends on whether I lost my watch or my charger last. Story 132. My dog, I suppose. But I know you mean physical objects, so the trigger of my earliest traumatic memory was a round, shiny balloon. I was with my sister, and she was bothering my grandmother. We had to go somewhere, but she grabbed my arm so suddenly that I let go of the balloon. There was no time to help me because my sister had my grandmother's full attention. Story 133. The duvet cover I bought in Milan for my new house has been driving me nuts for 7 years. Where could it be? And then everything else. Story 134. My high school yearbook was lost during one of the moves I made over the years. I'd like to look back at it and reminisce. Story 135. If we are talking only about objects, my favorite plushie was lost when I was 5 years old. I spent years mourning that plush mouse. If we are talking about everything, it is my grandmother. I miss her every day. Today my husband found a video of her playing with our daughter, and I cried. It has been just a year since she passed, and we miss her so much. She barely met her second great-grandchild. I will cry a bit more. Story 136. I lost an iPod Classic about 15 years ago, probably when it fell out of my car. It contained about 100 audiobooks I had collected over the previous few years. Story 137. My parents, my sister, and all the money I spent during that year of depression. Story 138. My stuffed animals. I spent a lot of time in the hospital as a child and often brought 1 or 2 stuffed animals for comfort. I had so many that I kept a toy chest for them and more around my room. When I was 15, my parents separated and my brother and I moved out with our mother. Once when we visited our father, I went to my room and found my stuffed animals were gone. He said he had decided to get rid of them. I was devastated. I had taken some to the apartment we moved to, but the vast majority of my collection was gone. Because of what I went through as a child, I did not have many opportunities to make friends or to develop normal social skills. Those stuffed animals were my friends and helped me through difficult times. Story 139. I lost a Hot Wheels car I loved when I was little, back when my parents' basement was still being finished. It had a slick, round black hood, a shark painted on the hood, and I think turquoise-tinted windows. I was playing with it down there and rolled it toward the wall. I don't know if it got swallowed by the insulation, but I never found it, no matter how much I looked. My parents finished the basement, so who knows what happened to it. That was maybe 23 years ago. I still think about it. It was one of the biggest mysteries of my childhood. I would like to see it in its box. I also lost my huge collection of Pokemon cards when my mom got rid of them. Story 140. I think about my Game Boy Advance every now and again because I know exactly who stole it. Story 141. My grandmother's remains. I had a very small urn with her ashes. I lived with an abusive boyfriend for a while. When I finally moved out, he yelled at me and rushed me, forcing me to throw everything I owned into bags as quickly as possible. I rented a truck at 10 a.m., and he yelled at me for not being finished and loaded by noon. Everything was tossed into trash bags and boxes without time to label them. When I started unpacking at my new apartment, I could not find the urn. It was gone. I asked him to please send me everything I had left behind. He said he would, but he never sent the urn. Story 142. My baby blanket was with me until I was about 25, when it mysteriously disappeared from my apartment. I missed the tactile feel and the smell. I was just thinking about it the other night. At least I still have my teddy, I guess. Story 143. My blanket. It's been 20 years, and I still miss that thing. Story 144. Where the heck did my Digimon odometer Tamagotchi and my Pokemon Silver cartridge go when I was 10? Story 145. I had a tiny first edition book of Poe's poems that my late husband gave me. I have no clue where it went. Story 146. I had a notebook of general information, and one entry was my crypto wallet. I lost it during a move years ago. I knew I had lost it while moving and tried to find it but could not. I did not try very hard because I was in a rush. The information was backed up except for the crypto wallet, which contained about 2.5 bitcoins, worth less than $20 at the time. Today, that would be about $285,000. Although if I had never lost it, I doubt I would have held on to it beyond $50. Story 147. There might be something good inside under all the plectra and toothpicks, but I will never find it among them. Story 148. It was a gift my parents gave me when I was 12. A complete volume of all the Sherlock Holmes stories, leather-bound with acid-free paper and gilt edges. I can still see the pages in my mind's eye and remember the smell as I held it in my lap. I kept that volume safe for 30 years until it was lost in a fire, along with all my earthly possessions several years ago. I do not miss the other things that burned, but I mourn the loss of that volume. Story 149. My uncle gave me a beautiful butterfly necklace. Our family had adventures exploring nature. Story 150. After reading the sincere, heartfelt posts below, I feel kind of like a jerk because my first thought was that some old Magic, the Gathering and Pokemon cards I used to own might be worth a decent amount now. Story 151. Wow. I have seen life, children, and innocence, and I just want my hoodies back. Story 152. All of my old toys were thrown out by my mother without permission. Story 153. My sister and I think we lost a Polly Pocket inside the couch in the 2000s. She was so pretty. She had real hair, and she was my favorite. We had a huge collection. Nostalgia. Story 154. My college art portfolio was left behind. We had a short window after class to pick it up, and I missed it. Some of my best projects were in it. I would like to think my teacher held onto a few of them. Story 155. The complete collection of the Magic Faraway Tree. I had a hardcover edition with the original illustrations. I lost it during one of my house moves, and I cannot find a replacement. Story 156. Our wedding rings were stolen. I hope that counts. Story 157. I packed a box of my favorite digital versatile discs separately and carried it with me during a cross-country move. Somehow I misplaced the discs during travel. Story 158. These are pictures of my late cousin. I had 3 great photos, and I haven't seen them in about 25 years. Story 159. My way. That road is so far to the right of me. It's maddening, but one step at a time. We're getting back to it. Story 160. The heart-shaped diamond was lost when my dog jumped up on me and accidentally broke the necklace it was on. It belonged to my late mother, so it meant a lot to me. Story 161. My Christmas ornaments. In 1992, my fiancée and I had a fully decorated tree at my house. I had traveled for work, so I collected many ornaments from American cities and a large collection of pig-themed Christmas ornaments, many given by friends. I was in my 30s and had collected them over several years. In 1993, we set up a tree and found all the house decorations but no ornaments. One ornament, labeled Our First Christmas, had been packed separately and was there, but nothing else. My husband had moved in that year and we had had a garage sale. Maybe someone accidentally took a box that was not for sale. That year I decorated with ribbons, cookie cutters, and whatever else I could find. I rebuilt my collection, but I will always wonder what happened to my original ornaments. Still makes me sad. Story 162. My friend gifted me that deck of cards for my birthday. It is no longer in stock and was beautiful. I left it in a hotel in China. I realized it when I was halfway to the airport. Story 163. I did not lose anything. My things were stolen. I was not allowed to live my life or have possessions. My brother was a prolific thief who stole from everyone, especially me because I had valuable items. Story 164. My stuffed animal cat is named Kitty. I have been looking for her ever since. Story 165. My raccoon Mario shirt and my pencil box full of Pokemon figures from the late 1990s and early 2000s made me laugh. Story 166. My micro machines. Correction. My mom gave them to my nephews when I moved out and they lost them. Story 167. I used to have a bunch of government-issue Joe toys. One of them had a spring-loaded rocket launcher with a red missile. One day I fired it. The missile flew into a cupboard, and I never saw it again. I was too small to reach the kitchen counters, so I assume my mother eventually found it, did not recognize it, and threw it away. Story 168. There was a little cloth lizard filled with sand that I carried in my pocket. I would crunch it whenever I felt nervous or bored. This was years before fidget toys. I used it so much that the cloth began to feel like extremely soft leather. It went missing one day. I am 40 and still think about it sometimes. I would definitely look for it first. Story 169. A 14-karat nameplate with a diamond in the center was a gift from my boss. We worked in a jewelry store. After my first year, she gave it to me, and after 5 years, she added the diamond. I do not know how I lost it, and I have not been able to find it for over a year. I had it for more than 20 years. Story 170. My last box, containing everything I had lost, was lost last time. Story 171. My wedding ring is in the house somewhere, but after 4 years, I think I have to accept it is not going to turn up. Story 172. This is the quartz crystal my great-aunt gave me. I do not even care about the crystal itself, but I know my little brother stole it and threw it away because he was jealous that I received something and he did not. He denied it, but it went missing right after he sulked about it for an hour or two. What a prick. Story 173. Transformers toys from the Beast Wars show. I used to have some good ones, including Optimal Optimus and Megatron. They were some of my favorite toys as a kid. They would probably also be worth quite a bit of money if they were still mint in box by now. Story 174. I had a Mickey Mouse watch that I loved. My husband bought it for me when we were dating, but it disappeared one day. I think my sister took it. Story 175. I was the victim of a burglary years ago. They took an inexpensive pendant from my jewelry box that had belonged to my late great-uncle and meant so much to me. It was handmade and irreplaceable. Story 176. My jet fighter transformer. I really wanted to play with it. My programmable pocket computer. It was cool even back then. I had a ton of baseball cards. One of them has to have some value. I found a cool Mercury dime once. Story 177. My LEGO Systems Lightsaber Duel Set 71011 and other valuable LEGO sets were lost while I was visiting my other parent. I also lost my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Story 178. My late great-grandfather's pocket watch was stolen from my house in the mid-1980s. Keep the video cassette recorder and the camera, but the pocket watch. Fuck you, whoever you are. Story 179. I lost an expensive wristwatch while I was in the hospital after an emergency. Or it may have been stolen. Story 180. My childhood house key. Rest in peace, beautiful. I know I lost you about 3 months ago, but I still think of you. Story 181. I know someone who would answer that damn Bitcoin Universal Serial Bus. Story 182. My slide rule has a magnifying lens perched above the hairline. Story 183. I want to know where my Winnie the Pooh jacket went. Story 184. The baby doll my mom swore just got lost when we moved houses, but I am sure she threw it away. Either way, it was lost to me, so that is what I would pick. Story 185. This is my other little cowboy boot from when I was 3. I am a 68-year-old retired breeder and trainer of mules and pulling horses, and I am female. Story 186. My dog was such a good boy. I miss him so much. Rest in peace, Kaiser. 2019 to 2024. Story 187. I lost a charm bracelet years ago. I do not remember what was on it except for one charm I had removed and a small prayer box with a heart on it, for which I have a replacement. Story 188. I had a Peter Rabbit pillow with yellow satin trim. It was my security item after I survived childhood sexual abuse, and I took it everywhere with me. One day it disappeared. My mother and my then new stepfather told me I must have left it somewhere. And to this day, they deny knowing what happened. I was 4 or 5 years old. I still search online for a replacement, but I have never found the right one. Story 189. If we go abstract, a basic sense of security. The belief that I can get through tough times and come out on top. I am so tired of rebuilding some semblance of it repeatedly, crisis after crisis, and never reaching it before another awful thing happens. If we go literal, probably that one very ugly shirt I once got from my late grandfather, the one he used to wear that got lost in a move. It looked horrendous, did not fit my wardrobe at all, and yet I would wear it all the same. Story 190. My dear and sweet dovetail joint-rolling man, who wasn't ready to deal with knives out on Earth's largest cocks on a train and in the trenches. I'd hug him tightly and never let go. Story 191. Long playing records from my childhood, and an antique woman's pocket watch that I bought from someone who had obviously stolen it. I replied before reading all of your comments. I am sorry that I was so superficial. Story 192. My brown stuffed bear, which wore blue coveralls and which I had as a child, was taken by my ex-wife when we divorced. Story 193. My list of copies of Pokemon Diamond and Animal Crossing, New Leaf. I need to know what I was doing on them. Story 194. I had a crucifix necklace. I am not religious, but it meant a lot to me. It was from my grandmother, who died when I was 9, and I had owned it for a long time. Once I was arrested, and when I was released the next day and recovered my property, the necklace was still there. My friend picked me up in the pouring rain, and while scrambling into the car, I am certain I dropped it in the gutter. By the time I realized I had lost it, it was too late. I am sure it was washed away or picked up by someone, and I had no desire to return to the police station. It is the only item I have ever lost that I still feel foolish about, even 20 years later. Not just because I dropped it, but because of the circumstances that led to the loss. Story 195. The $20 I lost at summer camp when I was 10. Story 196. 2 necklaces that were important to me and my old enchiladas and chili recipes. Story 197. When I was a kid, I had a wooden ruler advertising the knee-action clutch in the 1937 Pontiac. I have no idea where it went. Story 198. The wash and fold service stole a bag that contained my entire load of favorite clothes at the time. Story 199. Not counting my aunts, I received a scarf from a kind stranger after I complimented her on how beautiful it was. Story 200. My grandmother's engagement ring, which I am sure my brother's crackhead ex stole. Story 201. More than 67 years without a full night of sleep. I have central sleep apnea with one event every 40 to 50 seconds during rapid eye movement sleep and approximately once per hour when using continuous positive airway pressure therapy. I was first diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea at age 52. My apneas are only occasionally caused by restricted nasal passages and are predominantly neurological in origin. An additional symptom is the absence of normal dream paralysis, so I act out my dreams. Story 202. My pearl earrings, which my grandpa bought for me, were lost down the drain. Or my childhood blanket. Story 203. My conscious will to live. I am tired of this automatic existence. I'm sorry you're feeling this way. If you are in immediate danger, call your local emergency number now. If you are in the United States, call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you are elsewhere, contact local emergency services or a crisis hotline. Are you safe right now? I can help find support. Story 204. Geez, all these answers are depressing. So I am going to say one avenged sevenfold shirt and my virginity. Giggity. Story 205. The ring my grandmother gave me when she knew she was dying. Story 206. My border collie puppy died 9 years ago, but I still cannot move on. Story 207. I left my Game Boy and games on an airplane when I was a kid. My high heels disappeared from my car after my accident. Story 208. My choose the right ring dropped when I was 5 years old. I searched the patch of grass for hours. Story 209. It was a very big box. A long time ago my mom gave me a small suitcase of pictures from her family from when I was a baby, including grandparents and great-grandparents. When I moved, a friend was supposed to pack that suitcase but forgot. I could never reach the people who moved in and could not get it back. To me it was a great loss. My mom died, and now that history is gone forever. Story 210. The money a savings app failed to return could pay my debts right now. Yada was a scam. Story 211. I have not seen it in 30 years, in places north of Havana. Story 212. My mom, old friends, my cats and my Green Day and Nirvana t-shirts. Story 213. The innocence and optimism I had before reading this comment thread. Story 214. My concert ticket stubs. My ex-husband burned my memory box. I am very angry. Story 215. The kid in me is dying to see the hot pink mini Swiss Army knife my dad gave me when I was about 8. I think I lost it within a few months and never found it. As a teen, it was the house key I let my brother borrow. He lost it and never admitted it, and I got in so much trouble. Story 216. The universal serial bus drive containing the few bitcoins and other currencies I had. Story 217. I once had an object that seemed cursed with good luck. As soon as I got it and cleaned it, everything went well. I won tickets to a concert, a girl I had a crush on called and spent time with me, and I received a promotion at work, all within the first 2 weeks of having it. Unfortunately, at the same time my coworker's life began to fall apart. He lost his car keys, his uncle died, and his girlfriend left him. I am pretty sure he stole the object and threw it away. One day I went to lunch and could not find it. Nothing really bad happened to me after it was gone, and I am not superstitious, but it was a strange feeling to think something I owned was lucky. I have never felt that way since. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.